Hey, Anthony, do you like my new shirt?
Sure, man. It's cool. Could have been better.
What was that?
I said it could have been better.
You want to fight about it?
Yeah, I do. Let's go, chump. Hold on a second. We don't need to fight.
We don't?
All you need to do is go to 86.com and choose from one of their many designs. Franchises range from Skullgirls to Street Fighter and even BlazBlue. And if you check out 86 through this Twitch channel, use 86.com/AFF=4 to let them know that Mission Star Podcast sent you.
Thank you for bearing with us. This panel is much earlier this year than it was last year. And we just want to make sure we got everybody here that we could get. So we thank you all for showing up so early. And we're just going to have fun here today. We're starting a little late. We're going to dive right into it. So everyone, welcome to the Anime Los Angeles Voice Actor Roundtable. My name is Brian Forrest. I will be your moderator host this evening. Day, what time is it? I don't even know, guys. Let's just do this thing. All right. Please, first off, I'm very insecure. This is why I wear suits like this. Can I have a round of applause for my suit, please? Thank you. That is all I needed. All right, let's get to it. Please welcome to the stage our wonderful panelists of voice actors, featuring Kyle McCarley. He was not ready. I read you the order backstage. Colleen Clickenbeard. Justin Briner. Clifford Chapin. Kristen McGuire. Christopher Waycamp. Chris Turgliafera. Skip Skelrick. Joe Ockman. David Matrunga. And Morgan Berry. All right, guys, we're going to dive right in. This is not going to be a normal voice actor round table.
Because it's not a round table?
No. You took my joke already.
Sorry.
I've only got two more.
I'm known for that.
That's fair. All right. But if you want to know more about our amazing voice actors, use that old-fashioned standby Google. There's also that wonderful guidebook app, as well as the wonderful free programs. But of course, if you didn't know who they were, why would you be here? So give another round of applause for our amazing panelists of voice actors. I tried to do the math of how many just series or episodes you have all done collectively, and my brain hurt, so I stopped. So it's an amazing and very diverse career, and the history behind those careers are amazing, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the fun times you've had along that journey, or not fun times. It could get real, guys. Has everyone got tissues?
Yep.
We'll play it by ear. All right, here we go. So basically, everyone always wants to know, how do I get into voice acting? How did you get into voice acting? But there isn't a single path, guys. It's not a follow these steps and you will become a voice actor. So instead, what I want to ask you guys is, along your careers, is there a memorable moment that you kind of realized, I'm hooked, I can't do anything else? Or possibly a moment when you go, this might actually work.
I'll go, I guess. I've always been an anime fan since I was 15 years old. I remember drawing anime. I wanted to be a comic book artist, and I would show my mom, and she's like, "Oh, that's such a fad. Like, you're never gonna make a living doing that." And I was like, "You're probably right." So I got a degree in graphic design, which has served me so well. But when I auditioned to be a voice actor, it was always like, this would be a really fun thing to try. And I was like, if I get to do this, it'll be cool. And I did get to do it. But I quickly realized that it was only ever going to be a cool thing until I started treating it like a career. And once I started putting in the effort and everything like that, that's when I realized, I was like, man, I really want this to be my career. Like, this is where my passion lies, and it's always lied here. I just let my mom talk me out of it. So once I realized that is when I started pursuing the other opportunities as well as voice acting, like writing and directing, because I wanted to make a living off of it, and that's the best way to do it. So that's my quick answer.
Very set moment where you realize that this is now something that is no longer like a passion project and has now become a career, because I was waiting tables, as we do, as actors, and I was waiting tables at Rainforest Cafe, had been, I did it off and on in summers when I was in college, and then I came back to Texas and I was earning money to like make a big move to New York, and so I was waiting tables, and then I started working at Funimation, and I started working so much that it became difficult for me to wait tables. I was up there at Funimation almost every day, so what I would do is I would go to the restaurant and then I would wait around for somebody who would pick up my shift, and then I'd give them the shift and then I'd leave, so I wouldn't actually work. And I did that for 2 straight months at one point, where I did not work, I just gave away shifts, and finally my managers called me in and they were like, just quit. You don't work here anymore. And they had finally admitted to me, you know those secret shoppers who come in and like eat and then rate their service and let people know? Apparently, I had gotten like a 13 out of 100 on one of those, because I just didn't care. I was in the back making crossword puzzles for my fellow employees, and then so that was what I did. And then they told me that 2 months later, when they were like, "This happened, and then you stopped working here, and somehow you keep showing up in uniform, and we'd really rather you stop stocking the building." So that was my mom.
Wandered into it. I had no intention of being a voiceover actor. I came out here to do on-camera, to do film and TV, and I've done a bunch of TV, and I was very lucky to do it. But then an old friend of mine named Bob, do you know Bob Kleinskin? Bob Klein. So old friend of mine, Bob Klein, was very involved in anime, and he moved out here around the same time that I did, and saw me on cable access TV being interviewed about a play I was directing, and he's probably the only person who ever watched cable access TV. I don't think anyone else ever did, but he did, and he found me, and we started hanging out together, and he said, "Hey, how'd you like to get into anime?" And I went, "What? What's that? And he got me in, and I remember going into a Wallace session and seeing some of the real big guns, you know, I think it was Pappy and Sorich and all these really great guys in the room, and I remember walking into the room and having them all, they're all going, "Hey, am I funny enough yet? How you like me so far? Is everything okay? Hello there." And I went, "Oh, this is how it's going to be. This could be fun." And I figured the sky's the limit. And of course, back then, as Skip and I will tell you, back then, you know, the microphones were made of wood. And you know, your home studio, you had to baffle it with bear skins and stuff. But it's a whole different animal now than it was then.
Yeah, because that one's dead, right? The bear skin?
Yeah, the bear skin, yeah.
And I was acting, and I was doing a lot, mostly stage and some television and film. And it was prior to moving to New York, and I just got an audition for what my agent called a cartoon, and I was in Houston at the time, and I said, a cartoon in Houston? Where? This is gonna be, what is this gonna be? And they were like, "We have no idea, just go." And that was my first role in anime, was Orphan. It was from that audition, yeah, Orphan, which they're supposed to be coming back with like a 25 anniversary series or something. So anyway, that was, I always tell people, I kind of learned anime on the job. I had been prepared as an actor, and I felt confident as an actor, but I was pursuing commercial voiceover, because I was like, man, that's where the money is. That's, yeah, just pay me to keep playing that. And I kind of fell into anime, but I have a very clear time as well where I did 2 major series, and then I moved to New York, and I was flying back to Houston to do anime, and at one point I was like, oh, I do this now. This is like, yeah, this is something, and it's just really grown from there. And initially it was a thing where I just felt it was just fun as an actor to get to play all these kind of different roles, and I was like, regardless of what this ends up being, it's fun to get to do. It's a different way to exercise my acting chops and get to do different things I wouldn't get to do. And then it just really turned into, this is crazy. I do this. This is awesome. Anyway, that's my story.
Hey guys, casual. This is fun. This is a fun thing to do. So, a lot of people often ask us, what's your favorite role? And that always just hurts me immediately, because it's like, who's your favorite child? Or your favorite dog, cat, hamster, fish, whatever, So instead, is there a role that, people would never expect to have been you, that they would be surprised by? Or do you have one that just literally sticks in your mind as just very memorable, just the first one? And memorable doesn't mean in a positive way. Yeah.
I guess me, I played a character on the show called Gangsta, and I play Mikhail, and Mikhail is a 10-year-old child. He's itty-bitty, and he wants to eat people, I think, but it was kind of a funny situation because I fortunately can do this like really high-pitched voice. Because the first time you actually see Mikhail on screen, he's holding a person's eyeball, and he goes, "Erica, I want this." And right? Isn't that cute? Holding an eyeball? So there was like this crazy fight scene that he had once in like a bar. And people are always surprised to find out that that's A, me, and B, that's not pitched. Like, that's actually just my voice, that I can do that. So that's probably my one. So, yeah.
Even at this con now, people come up, I know you do Guy Sensei, but vicious? Because they're so different. And I'm kind of closer to Guy Sensei than I am vicious. Pretty happy-go-lucky guy, and I can't believe you did that. So that would be mine that people just don't expect to come out of. So.
I feel like we should go to in Yuri on Ice, which is one of the little triplets. You guys are welcome. We made the video, just to throw it out there. But what a lot of people don't know is in that same episode, in the flashback, when Yuri is pushed on the ice by our dad, I also play our dad. So I hey, Luke! And then I'm like, move it, fatso, you're in our way! Like, that is also me. So a lot of people don't know that, so everyone's really surprised. But I'm like, yeah, I'm also our dad.
Yeah, if there's sometimes the baby cries, if there's an infant crying on screen, sometimes it'll be in the elements and we don't have to do anything because it's already there. But if it's not, then most of the time I end up being the baby. So if you hear a baby crying on a Funimation show, that's me.
I call myself a utility guy because I've done so many different kinds of things, so many different kinds of shows. And one of the things I love about coming to conventions is I find out what people know me for because I don't know. I have no idea. So do me a favor, come by my table later and tell me. Well, one thing I would talk, since we're all on the high voice train at the moment, I did Kineko in Twin Star Exorcists. Which is not kind of the thing I normally do way up like that. That's normally the Bob Klein thing. So that was a lot of fun. So there you go.
So probably my first foray into voiceover was when I was in high school in a stage production of the musical Lil Abner.
That's an anime show, right?
Yeah. And the not the musical director who was directing the show, but the drama teacher who was like kind of sort of on the side of the direction of the show.
Lots of opinions.
Yeah. Well, no, who like probably should have been directing but couldn't have because it was the music department. Anyway, he like there's a scene where Abner like becomes world famous all of a sudden, and there are and it's just like during a scene change and you hear radio announcement like newscasters from all over the world, and he was like, I need somebody who can do a bunch of different accents and stuff, and he knew me because I was one of the like 5 people in the drama department and everything. So he was like, can you do Japanese? I'm like, oh boy. And Russian, and so yeah. Hola, isi Chang Chi, Don't Punch USA. Yeah, super offensive. Yeah, great. So yeah, that's real memorable.
This was in Kansas, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they don't know me.
Unexpected is mostly it's a story about me not knowing I was in an anime. I was at a convention and they were like, "Yeah, we got you listed for the fairy tale panel," and I was like, "Oh, cool. Well, okay." And I went back to my hotel and got on my computer and Googled fairy tale and my name, and I was like, "Oh, I'm in this movie, the movie fairy tale. Like, what is it called? I don't remember. But I play this guy. So I Googled it and I watched the episode, and I was just delightfully surprised by my own performance. It's a one-off character, and it's like this guy with like this kind of hard-nosed Brooklyn accent and this whiny, "Yeah, what are you guys doing here?" And like I never get to do stuff like that, and so I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to this fairy tale panel. I got one scene in this movie, and it's going on my reel."
So voice acting, as I'm sure in many other panels you've talked to fans about how it's not an easy profession. There are many easier things to do. It is hard on you emotionally, just being an actor or an artist in general, but also it takes a toll on you and your voice and everything as well. So what is it about this specific form of voice acting, this art form of voice acting, that makes you keep coming back time and time again instead of going and being an accountant or something?
To a job where you're salaried and you have your set amount at the end of it, is voice acting is very much like playing the lottery each time you get an audition. That's a chance to bring a new character to life. And that's something where, sometimes we go through ups and downs with our career, and then there's some role that pops up that you get that's just like, that's why I'm in this. And, for hitting those moments, that's great. And also, like, whenever you just get in the booth, you get to live all these different lives. You could be an assassin, you get to be a magician. There are all these fun things you get to do and live this out for, 2 hours at a time, 4 hours at a time in a booth. And there's just really nothing better than it. This is one of those things where the work is very fun. It's a matter of getting the work and the grind that is, the problem with voice acting, but actually being in the booth is just the biggest blessing I think any of us can ever have.
I have to add to that because, I think everybody would agree up here. We truly live a charmed life in a lot of ways. And for me, I laugh, especially doing somebody, like Guy. I laugh from the moment I walk into the booth to when I leave. It's a hootenanny, and it's just a laugh fest. But the best thing for me anyway, and I think most of them will agree up here, is coming to things like this and meeting you guys and seeing that, having somebody walk up and say, "I watched you when I was a kid, and you made me laugh so much," or "You made me feel so good when I was feeling down."
To find out the impact we have that we don't know when we're sitting in a booth.
Exactly.
Astounding. You guys are astounding.
And I won't get that if I'm an accountant. No one's going to come and say, "Wow, the way you put those numbers together and you added them all up, it changed my life." So that's what is probably the coolest thing about what we do. And it truly is a blessing that we get to do it.
This is just a short story, but the beginning of the first half of my anime career, I really didn't, I was doing a lot of other work and there was a lot of other hustling involved. I didn't go to conventions as much. And the first 2 conventions that I went to, this is just echoing what was just said, but I really understood that there were things that I had done even years ago that impacted people in a positive way. That made them think about something in a different way or helped them during a tough time or whatever. And I really had no idea, literally no idea that was occurring. And it really, it sparked me to want to go to more conventions just for that reason, to talk with you guys, to have a Q&A, have a dialogue back and forth. Because it does help, it helps me realize that, I've been a part of something that impacted someone. And I feel like at the end of the day, no matter what type of work you're doing, if you can do that, it's an awesome blessing. So yeah.
Going from being in a booth, or even a premiere, a red carpet event or something like that, where you get to talk to interviewers and maybe see some fans. But when you come to an anime convention like this, especially at ALA, and see, if you can dash through Dealers Hall, or Artist Alley in the 5 minutes in between your panels, and see characters that you've brought to life in original work, in wall hangings, on body pillows. How does that? You've seen those booths. How does that make you feel, being a part of that community and seeing it represented here and getting to actually experience that direct? I think pretty much all of us started in live theater. And there is something about having that direct contact with an audience and feeling that ebb and flow of energy. And then once you're in a booth, hey, you made the sound engineer laugh, but that's pretty much all you get. So how does that make you guys feel, being here and getting to actually feel that energy and excitement?
It's your property. That's just a really weird thing, and it never...
By autographing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was weirder in the beginning, and maybe I've gotten a little deadened to it over time, but every now and again, it'll still happen where somebody brings up their phone or wants me to sign their vintage Mustang outside, and it's like... Why do you? I have to be devaluing this in some way, and yeah, it's an honor and it's weird, and I could not love more the idea that conventions are a place for us all to come together and be weird. Like there are places, and now there are more and more places. It happens more and more, and there are more and more people going to them just for us to geek out together. And I think that will eventually take over the world. So.
I once tried to talk somebody out of letting me sign their 3DS because like 3DSs had just come out, and she came up to me, and I don't think I'd done any named characters. I'd done like a bunch of background voices, and she's like, "Will you sign this?" And I was like, "Why? Like, why do you want my signature on that?" I was like, "That's new, right? Like, are you sure?" And I tried to talk around her for like 5 minutes, but she was really insistent, and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Can I draw on it at least? Can I make it more worth it to you? Like, is there something you want to see on here?" Because
you have that degree.
Yeah, I have a degree. This drawing is worth more than my signature. Let me do this for you. But I'm with you. I'm like, "Are you sure?"
When you don't know because it's different whenever your mom or your friends are like, "You did a great job in that show." It's like, of course you're going to say that. But whenever you can actually...
Hopefully they're going to say that.
Hopefully. My mom doesn't watch my anime, and it kind of hurts my feelings. So, I love my mother, but that's one thing y'all have on her. But it's, whenever you can interact with someone through art, that's the only way you know us up here. It's just a very, all I can say is it's very humbling, it's very cool, and it's, anytime y'all come up and tell us that, I think if we've helped you at all, that helps us so much. That gives us such a rush, and just such a great feeling to know that what we're doing, that feedback is just invaluable, so thank you all for that.
I started doing cons fairly late because I was too humble to do them. I said, who would want to come and talk to me about anything that I've done? That's kind of, I can't imagine that. So every time I do one of these things, I am humbled and I learn something and I am in awe. And I had 2 people yesterday come up and tell me some stuff that was so amazing about the effect that something I did had. I mean, not on just like, dude, it was cool to watch, but like you changed my life. And I was astounded by it, and I'm astounded every time. So always thank you guys.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Yeah. I think the first time I got a comment like that, like it brought tears to my eyes, because it's just, how can, like, I just go and play make-believe in a padded cell for a couple hours at a time, and then to hear that it means that much to you guys is astounding. It is absolutely astounding. I think the first time I saw a piece of merch that had my character on it, I got really giddy. So I was just like, people are paying money for that. And that's, my voice came out of that, and that makes me feel special.
As you guys are. I was signing stuff, and somebody brought up little vicious, what do you call them? Little doll things.
Funko Pops?
Sure. It looks like a bobblehead. Yeah. And I hadn't seen one. I'm new to this, so forgive me. I hadn't seen one.
This is your second convention?
This is my second, yeah.
Second convention?
Yeah.
And your first was actually here at ALA.
Yeah, my first was last year, and this is probably the only one I'll do because they just spoil you, and I just can't imagine doing anything. But it's been just so awesome. When they called this year, I was like, yeah, are you kidding? You sure you got the right number, the right guy? I'll be there. But I'd say the first one came because I live off the grid. I'm not socially connected to anything. And Les Claypool and Mary had called me because I had started with them, and they said, "Hey, dude, they want you to do this Cowboy Bebop reunion thing." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what do? You know?" And you just gotta sit up there, and I'm like, man, I don't know, you know. I said, "Sure, give them my number," and I'm so glad they called because it really has meant a lot to me in my life. It's been awesome. But I have to tell you. The other day, Friday, they set that little Funko Pop, the little doll thing. And I said, oh my gosh, that's so cool. They didn't have those last year. And I said, I hope you didn't buy the last one. No. So I signed it. They go away. And I bet you they're here somewhere. And they're the most awesome two people in the world. They're awesome. So they came back about a half hour later, and they set it down again. I said, oh, you got another one, okay. And I go to sign it, and no, that one's for you. Aww. Yeah, that's what I did. I did the same thing. Aww. And it was so awesome. And I just couldn't believe it, you know? And I'm like, okay, let's just sign everything. You guys get everything you want. I'll sign it all. And they're like, no. And so that was awesome. And I can see you guys sort of, kind of. That was awesome. It really meant a lot to me. I'll never forget that. The people right behind him, there was two guys, and I don't know if they're here or not. There were two guys right behind him. They walked up, they sat the Baba thing down again, and I said, oh man, cool, dude. No, we bought you one too, but we just heard that they did, so. And I was like, are you serious? And they said, yeah, we heard you talking to them, how cool you thought it was, and you wanted to get one, so. And it was like, that's why we do this. I mean, you guys, I cannot express how awesome you guys are.
I don't know you at all, but I love you. You're so sweet.
Skip is great. Skip is the best.
I have to share just one more story of my rookiness. So the lines of people started to line up for autographs, and we were next to each other. We had just met, which was awesome. So I got my stuff all set up, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think I'm looking like everybody else down there. Yeah. And so I'm just sitting there. And so I go out and I start talking to people in the line. And I'm just chatting it up, you know, talking and yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then I kind of wandered back to my table. And the woman who was running it all, she says, are you ready? And I said, oh yeah, whatever. Well, I was wondering why you're working the line. Oh, I don't know. I just got those people are standing there waiting. Yeah, they're waiting for you. I said, what? I said, I thought they were waiting for all these guys. No, that's your line. Your line is right here. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Come on up, guys.
I
want to keep him.
I have to piggyback off this because I thought you were a seasoned vet at this. This is also like my second or third con. And my girlfriend says to me, she's like, look at him, he's working the line. That's what you should be doing. And I was like, that's genius. He's making them late, but he's going and talking to each of them, giving it an individual experience. Like, I'm gonna work the line next time. I didn't know you didn't know what you were doing.
No, I'm just clueless. Isn't that awesome?
You're a natural. Everyone should work the line before you start.
You got this, dude. You can't stop doing it now. You just got to get. First off, Colleen is in love with you. The audience thinks you're the coolest on earth. So, dude, you got to keep doing it.
I must say, I am very much into the ribbons.
Guys, okay, hold on. Real quick story. One of our Japanese guests of honor last year, they got into a competition and she beat him by how many ribbons?
Pardon me? She beat me by one ribbon.
She beat one ribbon, and Skip that stuck with you
I
all
did.
the year. So
I
now,
killed it this year. Yeah. And I still have this many more to put on here.
yeah, he's not kidding. So if you have ribbons afterwards, Skip will take them.
You know it.
Anyone want to follow up that?
Why bother?
Okay, next question. So kind of on the theme of working the line before every signing, I feel like it has now become a ritual of yours.
I just want to point out that I tried to get Todd Habercorn's line yesterday to form a dance crew before they got to him and do a number. And no. You guys, remember, form a dance crew while you're on your lines.
That story really ended down. Okay, cool.
Had to have one.
You got one person?
Had to have one to land down.
One story. Cool.
You wanted negative things on the best parts.
That is
I
my
couldn't
fault.
form a dance crew.
That's my fault. I'm sorry. All right. Is there a ritual or tradition that you've kind of leaned into?
So in Dallas we drive everywhere. It's kind of like Los Angeles, except it doesn't take as long, but we drive everywhere, and everything's very spread out. So even if you're, for example, you may hear from your agent or a casting director or whatever, they may say, we need you there, in 2 hours, are you available? You're like, okay, well, I'm the equivalent of like from, Spain to France or whatever, but I could get there, or whatever. It's very spread out in Dallas. But it means you get a lot of time in the car. And so I've sort of used that. I like to sing, and so I'll put on music, and that's my main ritual. Every time before I go do any voice acting, really, whether it's for anime or commercial stuff, either way, I like to warm up my voice by singing. And when it's anime, and if I know what the character is, then I'll try to sort of select music that could be appropriate for that character. So, for example, even though Eraserhead is a very chill, low-key sort of guy, he's always like one moment away from just kicking everyone's ass in the room, So you have to have that sort of like intensity, even though you have to be aloof and intense, sort of at the same time, like Batman. It's like Batman in my mind. So I like to listen to Rage Against the Machine. Yeah. I like to try to pretend like I'm Zach De La Rocha, and then afterwards I have sort of that energy inside. But then when I come to Aizawa, I just like tone everything down on the front. But inside, I'm Zach De La Rocha. So that's I like to sing. That's my ritual.
So rewatch an episode with Eraserhead and just think that the entire time. do you have a go-to show tune? I have to ask.
Go-to show tune?
Show tune, yeah.
I love a parade.
Perfect. That's all I needed.
Not really, no.
Okay.
I like that one though.
I had a foot injury once. This is a positive story. And I was doing, and after I came back, I got into Yosemite hiking. It was a lot of fun. But when I started working right after that, my foot would hurt really bad in session, so I wasn't quite sure what to do. So I started taking my shoes off. So now I take my shoes off for every session I do. No matter whether it's anime or games, whatever it is, I always have my shoes off. It's people know it so much that there's certain people that have mats ready for me because they know I'm going to do it, so that my feet will feel a little more comfy. I call them diva mats. and so that's, if there's anything close to a ritual, that's mine. Take my shoes off.
Before every session for Todoroki, I slather my entire body in icy hot. To feel like that cool burn the whole time. And the people that come in after me really hate me.
Is this a sponsorship play right now?
I'm trying to get...
Do we have any reps in the audience?
I'm trying to get Icy Hot to sponsor me and Shaq. I think Shaq is their current spokesperson, so I gotta call Shaq.
So guys,
That's
go
why
ahead.
I don't really do that.
So guys, go ahead and tweet at David and at Icy Hot, and let's get this started. It's gonna be up to you guys, all right?
So on a related note, I always bring my own headphones to the studio because Because of David's Icy Hot. I don't
Yeah,
want
because
that
they're
on
gross.
here.
They're gross.
Yeah.
Or because you hurt your ears hiking in Yosemite.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, I just studio headphones can get really gross.
Yeah.
And they get cleaned hopefully at the end of every day.
There's all kinds of statistics that like gym equipment is way dirtier than a toilet seat.
Yeah.
And I wonder about.
Yeah.
You know, Colleen, I really did say that for you. She loves Skip. She hates you.
I actually heard a horror story about an actor who got ear mites from a pair of studio headphones. That's a thing that
In
happens.
California or Texas?
That was in LA, so maybe Texas folks are okay. But so I bring my own studio headphones to every session for that reason.
Cool. I am now going to bring my own studio headphones to every session for that reason. Damn.
Chris Sabat has a studio named Okratron. His studio used to have those little earphone condoms. They're little earphone covers. They look like the mask that you wear if you're sick, and they went over the earphones. And I don't know if it's just
They have them on aircraft carriers and stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't know if nobody used them or if everybody used them up, and then they decided not to keep buying them because they kept getting used. But yeah, they exist.
On a
For the
positive
ear
note,
mites.
on a circus, you can train the ear mites.
Why am I having a ear mite circus?
Okay.
I've been in studios where they have sort of that old cloth earphone, and that's real bad. Because if someone it's sweaty. That is not cool.
It's like putting a bowling shoe that you rent.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Sorry, this panel's taken a severe left turn.
Sorry, guys.
It's your fault.
It's my fault.
Screen in front of the mic.
But I don't touch that.
They're cleaned more often, but if they're not, you can tell
That's
way
gross.
more than
You're
you
not
can tell
supposed to
about the
touch
headphones.
Yeah, I was just to say, you shouldn't be touching
But every now and again, you have a good scream and your chin bumps it, and then you just want to die.
Yeah, you immediately start freaking out and telling everybody.
Oh God, I gotta watch my whole body.
Or if you have facial hair, you immediately go, pardon me, you just shave it off.
Yes.
This is the stuff we really want to talk about.
Yeah, we're all very excited about it now.
Now we're in a round table.
Everyone's leaning forward now.
Yes.
Everyone's excited.
You guys
There
know
are
how
certain
dangerous
voice
it is.
actors. There are certain voice actors whose breath you can smell on the pop screen following their sessions, and
These are the real dangers of being a voice actor.
Being a voice actor means that you're suddenly much more aware of germs than you ever were in your life. And I'm a mom. And I'm pretty aware, but I feel like it's the spider sensation, when you walk through a web and you're like, oh God, I feel like there's spiders on me. Once you're a voice actor, you'll shake someone's hand and they'll be like, hey man, how are you feeling? And you're like, ah! I can see the germs and they're all over me. They spread so fast. And I feel like that's how we all are now.
We were working in with the wood microphones. We were working in what was no bigger than a phone booth.
Are you talking about lessons?
Yes. And they did a Wallace session in this phone booth.
I did this. I know this.
With 5 guys. And you may have been one of them.
I may have been one of them.
And 5 guys weren't made to fit in a phone booth. And a couple of those guys they just kind of got out of bed and rolled in and didn't take a shower
I was
first.
in that booth.
Oh, was that just the worst?
It was horrifying.
Yeah, but we made it.
We made it. And it was hot.
It was hot, yes. They put the air on between takes.
Yeah, but
Yeah. This should be a whole panel just for grossness, though.
And he's got a whisper booth. It's not the smallest whisper booth, but it's not the biggest one either. It's sort of in the middle, I suppose. And we would get to the point where I would come in for my session, and you could walk into the booth and just kind of get a whiff, and I would say to Chris, smells like dude walla in here. So walla is the thing we do where we have background noises, right? Background voices. And we'll have 2 or 3 people that will cram into this little booth. And maybe they showered that day, maybe they didn't. And they'll be in there for, an hour, sometimes it could be even like 2 hours of 3 sweaty dudes like pressed up against each other screaming, at the top of their lungs. And and so when you show up afterwards, you sort of just have to like kind of waft the door, It's gross, guys.
I started doing ADR Loop Group for Warner Brothers and Nickelodeon and stuff as well, and it was always the teen shows, Victorious and Pretty Little Liars and stuff like that, and they would put 15 people in a room, and at first it used to be like maybe the width of this 1 8-foot table, and then after the first day, they were like, hey, by the way, guys, it's right in that lunch hour, so we're going to provide lunch, and they bought us Indian food. And it was just like, oh, cool. And then the next time we showed up, it was the same sound engineer. We all started walking towards the same room, and he went, no, you stay out of that room. You get in the big room. Go over there. We bought you sandwiches, and you get them afterwards. So yeah, okay, so I forgot everything I prepared. So let's start with, let's do like a few minutes of questions and then call it good, shall we? I think we've started everyone thoroughly. So if you do have a question, we've kind of covered everyone's kind of start into voiceover. There isn't really a path, and memorable characters. We've kind of covered that, but if you have other questions, I can't see you, so stand up. And I actually saw it. Yeah, good. Yes.
Question. Well, not really a question, but more of like a question story. Is there any funny moments in the booth that you guys have experiences or memorable moments behind the booth?
Just specifically funny or memorable moments in the booth.
Called Space Battleship Yamato, and it's a really cool sci-fi show. You should check it out, especially if you like Star Wars. There's my plug. And so there's this older actor, a guy named Bill Jenkins, who's amazing. He's this incredible. He has this amazing voice, and he sounds like just you would talk to him, and then he would go in the booth and do these amazing textures with his voice that are just, I don't know how he does it. Anyway, he's great. And I was doing a scene where I was talking to his character, and I come out of that conversation and I go talk to another character who's played by a guy named Rico Fajardo, who's also a great actor. And my character is supposed to say, Rico, his character asks me, Kodai, what's wrong? And my character's supposed to say, it's nothing, I'm fine, or some version of that. So instead, he asks the question and I go, it's nothing, I pooped my pants. And we recorded that because what happens right after that is it throws to Bill Jenkins' character, who then has to, start some exposition story about the next journey that they're going on in space. So, I'm not there for that, right? We record that, we laugh about it, and then I leave. But then I come in the next week to record again, and my director, Jerry, is like, oh boy, I wish you would have been here when Bill was here and he did his part. I was like, what happened? Well, we played your part, and your character goes, it's nothing, I pooped my pants. And Bill Jenkins turned to him and he goes, well, that can't be right.
I have one. I actually work with Clifford Chapin a lot. He's hired me a lot. I'm very grateful. But we have known each other a long time, and so we can have a lot of fun in the booth. And I, like many actors, will mess up in the booth, and Cliff will say things like, man, you want to do that again and suck less, or things like that. Or he'll turn to his engineer and he's like, ever think about what it would be like if we cast so-and-so instead? And then I'm in there like, but then when I started directing, and I cast Cliff in Gamers, he flubbed a line, and I turned to my engineer and I was like, you ever wonder what it'd be like if we cast so-and-so instead? And that was and he was like, you turned it around. It was like 6 months later, I'm like, I'll never forget. Because I'm a woman. We hold on to that. So that's fine.
I do often tell actors, like, can you imagine if Colleen played this part?
Say the name, she's right there.
That's all. It's even better. It's even better. One of my good stories that's appropriate for audiences is when we were recording Cardcaptor Sakura Clear Card. I voiced Toya in that, and there was a sequence where in Japanese Toya's mouth moved, but he didn't say anything. It's like as if he was just like muttering something to himself. But there's no acting from the Japanese side. His mouth just like. And so we had like a line written in there as like an option if we wanted to get something, unless we wanted to leave it blank. And Caitlin did want to get something. She like most people thought it was weird that his mouth just silently. And so it's something like he's home. He comes home and his dad is home. And his dad's always away on like business trips or something. And so we wrote this line like, "Oh, Dad's here." Like it's something he's supposed to say kind of to himself, still under his breath, whatever. But Caitlin took too long coming up with what the line was, and anytime she does that, I'm gonna come up with something else to say, much like what Chris was saying. And so we recorded this in a whisper booth too, so there's only like a thin wall between us and the director and the engineer. And the beeps play, and so we get to the flaps, it's beep, 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 and I go, "I'm a scat man." And I was gonna just then say the line like I normally would, like I'll do a joke and then I'll do the real thing. But the engineer started laughing so hard, and because it's a whisper booth, I heard him laugh through the wall, and that made me start laughing. And then I couldn't record the real line. Like we kept coming in to record it, and the beeps would play, and I would just start laughing again because I would see the flaps, and it brought me back to being a scat man. So I actually very rarely, and it doesn't always matter, but like I actually had to like close my eyes to record the line because if I saw the video, I was just gonna laugh. So so that's cool.
I had to have the sound effects muted on one line because like 12 takes in a row. Because I've been doing this for a while. I think I'm pretty professional. I could get through pretty much anything, but for some reason, there was this sound cue that just happened right at the beat, like during the beeps, like on the second beep it started, and it just kept going through my line. The sound of somebody squirting suntan lotion out of a bottle, and it's just like all through my. I just couldn't get through it. So they finally, like on take 12, muted it because I kept going. Okay, I got it.
Our engineer was really notorious for playing around with sound effects. So we always said, like, the mic is always hot if you're working with Nagaris, because if you said something weird, he was going to put it somewhere you didn't expect it. But the best part is when he moved to sound, it was like a fart noise or something silly, because we're kids. But he made himself laugh so hard from where he put the bomb, and I was in the booth, like watching through this window. He made himself laugh so hard that he passed out.
He lost consciousness.
He stood up and he was laughing so hard, and I'm like looking, and it was funny because like only he knew what it was gonna be, and then like we're laughing, it was contagious. But I'm looking through the booth, and all I see is him go, ah! I was like, oh my god, are you? And he got up and he's like, I passed out! And he starts laughing again, and I'm like, sit down! Like, it was just like a fart noise. I'm just like, God, all 5-year-old boys.
The thing is, it wasn't really a fart noise. It sounded like it was a transition noise.
It was in the element.
Yes, it wasn't even supposed to be a fart noise, but it sounded like one. And that transition noise played consistently throughout the entire season.
The best part is he moved it because her character talks about like his smell a lot because he smells weird to this girl, and so he moved the fart noise. So you heard this fart noise that wasn't a fart noise, and he goes, "Soda caught in my smell."
But the funny thing is, he put it in just the right spot every single time, and I had no idea. There was one moment Shuda was walking this way, and his crush was walking the other way. So he's walking this way, and the wind's blowing her hair. There's sparkles as she walks this way, and then the fart noise comes in, and it was just perfect because he's walking this way, and he turns around like this. He goes,
It was pretty hilarious, but it was more hilarious to watch Nick Harris drop like a brick from his own joke.
I gotta do a call out, a shout out to the engineers that help us with what we do, who are amazing, amazing people. They put up with so much. Who also create libraries of everything we say, especially if it's dirty or stupid. and some of them take great pleasure in playing those things back to you during your sessions once in a while. Like if you mess up, they'll go, well, that really sucked. And it's something that they'll throw back some sound effect or something that you've done. So a shout out to the engineers. Yay, you guys.
I probably shouldn't share this, and I've never shared this in public before.
Skip, I'm gonna let you know.
Yeah.
Just because
That sounds like a great story to me.
this was such a great question that this is gonna be our final story.
Colleen is getting ready to fall more.
You're going to enjoy this one.
This is how we're ending the Voice Actor Roundtable.
Colleen's going to have a different view of me after this.
Okay, here we go. Buckle up, everyone.
I do a lot of live action stuff as well. I do a lot of fight scenes for actors that don't want to do their fight scenes. And I'm doing a fight scene, and I'm just wonderfully going along, and I'm just beating the crap out of this guy. And I farted. Now, the mics that we use are quite powerful. But I'm thinking to myself, well, there's no way they heard that. I continue the fight. I finish, I look around, and the booth, they're all on the floor, just dying. Just dying. And I'm like, what's up? Oh, what's up? And I said, oh, you heard that? Yeah, we heard that. And they hit the playback, and here's this scene. And I owned it. I owned it. I said you can have the Foley for free, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I was not kidding. That is our final story. We're gonna bring us all in front. We're gonna pose for a class sorority photo, and then we're gonna let you guys run off to everything else you have scheduled for today. Once again, if you want to talk to these wonderful people, look in the program, see where else you can see them. Thank you guys so much for coming. We'll see you all later. We'll see you next year.